Auburn better watch the turnovers. Georgia's learned that lesson already, Dylan. Dean Legge, Dylan Webber, another edition of Riding Home here on Dog Post. Dylan, when you start looking at Auburn's situation, they've got a very young quarterback, true freshman. They've turned the ball over a fair amount in these legitimate games. That's something that if they do that with Georgia, they're going to have some problems.
The thing is, too, I think to beat this Georgia defense, they're going to have to take some risks,
Yeah.
airing it out, and that's more likely for turnovers, especially with a guy like Bo Nix, who everyone knows can turn the ball over quite a bit. I mean, in bad situations too.
It's not an idea. I mean, like, you don't want a true freshman playing. Um, well, you don't want a true freshman as your starting quarterback. I mean, Georgia has gotten away with that with Jake Fromm, but Jake wasn't asked to do a lot of different things in the way that Nix has been asked
Yeah.
to do.
Bo Nix does not have Sony Michel and Nick Chubb
Exactly.
in his backfield.
These two teams are actually tied in terms of turnover margin.
I saw that it's +4, right, for both of them.
Oh, there. Well, I'm not quite sure if I could tell you which it is, but Auburn has six more turnovers on the season, so that's not quite one more a game. But like Georgia's averaging about one a game on offense, and four of those came in one game. So
Yeah,
you can't take away the South Carolina game. I mean, like it's kind of like yesterday we talked about the college football playoff. I mean, I don't know where Georgia would be ranked right now if they were undefeated and didn't have that Carolina loss. They'd be in front of Clemson. I don't know that they'd be in front of Ohio State and LSU necessarily. Maybe they'd be in front of Ohio State. I don't think anybody deserves to be in front of LSU this second.
no.
But the other caveat to what I just said is, Auburn has gotten 16 turnovers, so that's not quite two a game, but that's a lot. Now, again, they've had some wild games. I mean, you talk about that Florida game; they had four. Both teams had four turnovers, I think it was. Dude, they didn't look good against Mississippi the last time. I mean, you turn the game on, and you're watching Auburn just flop around with Ole Miss. What was that? Can you explain that one to me? Was that just not a good game?
Can anyone explain that? I think this Auburn team just isn't phenomenal. I want to say, and they're going to have games like that,
Yeah.
but they're also going to have good games too because they are a talented team, and you know that they're going to give Georgia one of their best games of the season.
I think Georgia's going to cut. I mean, the line is only three. I think Georgia will win. I'm starting to suspect, and I've suspected for some time now, that I could see where that this is going to be similar to the 2004 game at Auburn, except the shoe on the other foot. And that was a 24-6 win for Auburn over Georgia. The Dogs only scoring in the last like 2 or 3 minutes of that game to avoid a shutout. That was a very good Auburn team. That was the last undefeated SEC team not to play for a national championship. The second to last not to play for a national championship coming from the SEC, I think. No, that can't be right. Is that right?
Repeat it.
Did well, I mean, I don't know what play for a national championship means anymore, but I was gonna. I mean, I know for a long time the 2005 Georgia team was the last SEC team that did not play for a national championship because you had in six the Gators, seven LSU, eight the Gators, nine Alabama, Auburn. After that, 11, 12
Well, I guess
was
in
Bama. Who 13 was
14
no
or
13 was Auburn, but
when Ohio
well,
State
that's
and
right,
Oregon.
Ohio State and Oregon. But I mean, is getting to the playoff playing for the national championship now? I guess not. I guess
No,
not.
I
So
wouldn't. You can't say that, but the last team, I don't
you
know. I
get
see
my
what you mean.
you get
I
my
get yeah.
point though in that in the last 15 years of college football, someone from the league, if not both teams, two teams from the league have played for the national championship. Anyway, I don't know why I'm sidetracking. That was a very good Auburn team in 2004. They went to Sugar Bowl and beat Virginia Tech and had no claim to the national championship, which was ridiculous. They really dominated Georgia that day, and that was a very good Georgia team that wound up a top 10 team. They just couldn't score.
So, are you saying that
I
this
think that
game?
I think Georgia could make this game similar to that, to where Auburn is going to struggle to score. That's what I would not be surprised if that happened.
I see what you mean. I could see that happening if Georgia gets maybe a pick six or a non-offensive touchdown
Because
early in the game, and it just quiets Auburn, and their offense is struggling to gain any traction. I could see the game going like that.
all right, so let me just roll through the Tigers one more time here. I think this is an important point. They scored 27 against Oregon. They scored 28 against Texas A&M. They scored 13 against the Gators. They scored 20 against LSU. Not a good defense. They scored 20 against Ole Miss. Now I'm leaving out Arkansas. I'm leaving out Mississippi State. I'm leaving out Kent State, and I'm leaving out Tulane where they only scored 24 points, but I'm leaving them out because State, they're foreign. They got a losing record right now, and so forth. So against ranked teams, at least scored 27, 28, 13, 20. Okay, excuse me, 27, 28, 13, and 20. That's not exactly lighting up the scoreboard, and none of those defenses. The closest one that I just listed were the Gators, and Auburn scored 13 points. That game was on the road. That's one issue there, and they turned it over like nuts against the Gators. I see Auburn struggling to score in this game, man. I just go ahead.
I think any team that plays Georgia is going to struggle more often than they do to score.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how this defense is. That's how good it is. And Auburn's offense is not crazy electric.
No.
Against this stout Georgia defense, yeah, I think it's very fair to say that they're going to struggle to score.
They, in terms of just, they only have 12 field goals this season, so not unbelievable there. They've scored about the same amount of touchdowns as Georgia, actually about 4 more. So I'm sorry, I misspoke there. They have scored 2 more touchdowns than Georgia. It's about the same there. They're just not kicking field goals the way that Georgia is. Georgia got about 7 more field goals, and field goals are going to matter in this game. I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. It's something that you need every point you can get in this game because it's going to be it's going to be a blood sport almost.
The over under is at
40.
41.
Yeah,
40. So
whatever.
That means about 20 points a team. So
that's not much.
3 points. I mean, we're talking almost 1/4.
That's a fourth of your scoring on the day. I mean, I have no. I mean, I've covered this game for so many years. I have no confusion about what everybody's getting into in this game. If you're not ready to put a sweater on and go out there and fight and roll around on the ground for 3 hours and a half, sometimes 4 hours, depending if they go to quadruple overtime, which I've also seen, then you're not ready to play this game. And for all Kirby, all of his intricacies and so forth, he knows how to get guys ready for big games. It seems like to me they've laid eggs, but Auburn has been a team that he has done well against, generally speaking, in his time at Georgia. He's done well against in his time as a coach, I should say. He has done well against Dan Mullen. He's done well against Auburn. I just think he'll have them ready to go. Now you'll know quickly, Dylan. You can know first, by the first couple of TV timeouts, you know what you're getting into. But yesterday we talked about Derek Brown. But the Georgia defense gets to rotate guys in. They're not just focusing on one guy. And it's not just Derek at Auburn. I mean, he's just their best player, the most notable, most noticeable too.
But we're talking about the star player. When you talk about the '96 Bulls, you talk about Michael Jordan. Of course, Michael Jordan had Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, and whatnot. But you're talking about the one guy there that really stands out above the others.
Yeah, he's a really good player. There's no question about that. But
not to compare him to Michael Jordan.
Yeah, he's not Michael Jordan. By the way, that makes me think of what Dabo Swinney calls Deshaun Watson. If Deshaun Watson's Michael Jordan, what does that make Lamar Jackson?
Or Tom Brady?
What? No, seriously. Lamar Jackson is a straight freak. Period. He almost, you know, he basically did everything by himself at Louisville, and since he's gone, it's been a train wreck there. That guy is amazing. I don't really know what else to say. I don't want to sidetrack
Does
it
that
too
make
much.
him does that make him the LeBron James then?
I wouldn't put LeBron in front of Michael Jordan, but that's another discussion for another day.
I just wanted to poke the buttons of all
That
the
that debate.
all the older crowd out there.
I don't know, man. I mean, Auburn's sitting here at 2-2 against ranked teams. Georgia's 2-0. Obviously, Georgia's only lost against South Carolina. Certainly not a team that's ranked. Carolina will have to rescue themselves just to get to a bowl, if they can even do that. I'm not sure. I, I'm not. Look, I've been in this game enough to know the team that's the underdog can win it, no doubt. But it, I think Georgia's just going to have to grind this game out, Dylan, to win it. I expect them to do so, although it's going to be extremely difficult to play there, no question.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about that, just how difficult it is to play in Jordan Hare. And if any of our listeners have been there, they probably understand as well, just the difficulties that come in playing there.
The first time I ever went to Jordan Hare was in 1996, and Georgia pulled a huge, massive upset. That should have never happened, but it did, and that was the day that UGA went after Robert Baker. Um, and ever for a string of time there, for about 10 years, the underdog did very well in this series. Whether you're talking about 1996, 1999, 2006, you had some, stunning upsets. I mean, 2006 was stunning. But the thing has settled down lately, and the better team has won a lot. I don't think there was any question who the better team was on the field in 2007 at Auburn. Was there?
In 2017?
I said seven. I meant 2017. Yeah. I mean, Auburn was clearly better than Georgia that day. No question.
Yeah. But
No.
when they met up in Atlanta, I think it was very clear.
It became clear that was a fight too, man. I mean,
It was.
you're gonna play Auburn. You better be ready, man. They are a fight for sure.
It's a bare knuckles courtyard fight.
It is. You better be ready. All right. Speaking of which, click on the recruiting reports right up above you. Matt DeBerry, Dean Legge, Dylan Webber. Please join us for Riding Home and all the coverage on Dogpost, dawgpost.com. Click on the link above to watch yesterday's recruiting report. We will see y'all after the game at Jordan Hare.